Okay, so what if losing every single penny you'd saved for a decade wasn't the end? What if it was actually the beginning? In this explainer, we're diving into an incredible story about a journey from complete financial ruin to a life of true abundance, and the surprising principle that was discovered along the way.
And this is really the paradox at the heart of the whole story. The idea that total devastation, the absolute worst thing you can imagine, could be a launchpad for something better? Well, that sets the stage for a journey where the very definition of success gets turned completely on its head.
So, to really understand this new beginning, we have to start at the end. This story kicks off not with success, but with a really profound and painful loss.
What's just shocking is how fast it all fell apart. I mean, imagine this. You spend 10 years, a whole decade, carefully building your savings. Then you make a huge life change, moving to Mexico for your family. And you see it all just vanish. Within a single year, a decade of hard work was just gone.
But the financial loss, that was only part of it. The personal cost was immense. We're not just talking about an empty bank account here. This was a period of deep, dark depression and overwhelming loneliness. A true rock bottom, where it felt like there was absolutely no way out.
These lyrics, which were inspired by his journey, just perfectly capture that feeling of complete hopelessness. You know, the feeling of being on the darkest road imaginable. But it's right here, in this darkness, that the very first glimmer of light starts to appear.
In that moment of crisis, a lifeline came from his cousin Isaac. And he didn't offer a handout or a loan. He offered something way more valuable. A plan. A simple, straightforward path to get back on his feet.
And get this. This was the entire plan. It's almost shockingly simple, right? A huge goal, $1 million. A long timeline to get there, 20 years. And then the most crucial part, start now. For someone who had just lost absolutely everything, this was a game changer. It shifted his focus from the past to the future and gave him a real purpose again.
So, with that new goal in his sights, the long and difficult journey of rebuilding began. Now, this wasn't some get-rich-quick scheme. This was a commitment to a decade of pure hard work. And the path definitely wasn't easy. He described it as just hard, with all these real-world challenges like paying child support. But then something interesting started to happen. He found that with persistence and with faith, the journey actually got easier over time, fueled by what he called God's blessings. And here's the truly remarkable part. That 20-year plan, he did it in 10. By age 40, starting from nothing, he'd reached his $1 million goal. But hitting the number, well, that wasn't the real story. It was just the beginning of understanding what true wealth is all about.
This lyric, right here, it marks the pivot. The achievement wasn't just about the money. It was about discovering a million blessings that had absolutely nothing to do with a bank account. It was about finding a brand new song, a whole new way of looking at life.
And this is the most crucial lesson here. Hitting that $1 million mark was an incredible accomplishment, for sure, but it wasn't the real treasure. The journey had taught him to see wealth in a completely different light.
This is what true abundance looked like. It was marrying a wonderful woman and becoming a father to her 3 kids. It was a home filled with laughter and a life defined by grace. And, most importantly, it was a deep, unshakable sense of contentment that money alone could never, ever buy. So, how did he find this contentment? This brings us to the core lesson of his entire journey, a secret that seems to go completely against everything we think about when it comes to accumulating wealth. He calls it the principle of abundance. You know, our instinct is that to have more, we need to take more. We need to hold on to what we've got. But he discovered a higher principle was at play, that true blessings don't come from taking, but from giving.
This is his personal testimony, and it's just incredibly powerful. He's talking about sacrificial giving, not just giving what's easy or what's left over, but giving to the point where it actually hurts, where you really feel the cost of your generosity.
And that was the surprising return on his investment. Every single time he gave sacrificially, the reward wasn't financial. It was so much deeper. A feeling of being blessed and, crucially, of being more content. He discovered that the very act of giving away was the source of his inner peace.
At the end of the day, this entire story just challenges all of our assumptions about wealth. It forces us to consider a really radical idea. What if true abundance, what if the real key to having more isn't found in holding on tighter, but in letting go?